Hey guys, how's it going? It's Rob Sutton with Bike 198. So over the past week, I've watched two different YouTube videos on mountain biking that are really saying the quiet part out loud about the mountain biking community. So let's get into it. So the two videos I'm talking about is one by Lone Ranger, where he comes out and talks about a pink bike podcast where they're actually going over what they think about YouTubers and content creators. And then the second one is from Paul the Punter from a year ago when he explains why he actually quit mountain biking. So I will link both of these videos down in the description below so you can listen to them in their entirety. But we are going to go over some little key main points here and what I actually see as someone who's been mountain biking for an incredibly long time, but also making content around mountain biking since 2008. So first, let's talk about the Lone Ranger, a reaction video to a pink bike podcast. If you guys haven't watched that video yet, he goes into a very detailed reaction to a podcast by the editors of Pink Bike, where they basically say that anyone that is on TikTok or YouTube about mountain biking isn't qualified or good enough at riding to actually talk about trails or equipment.
Because I think a lot of time on social media, and even to when I was working essentially as an influencer back in the day, like if I could have been a mountain bike racer, that's what I would have done. But how did that feel like, thinking like we're actually doing the actual thing, the racing, and if a lot of those influencers, if they could do this, they would be doing this, but they can't. But they're doing TikTok dances and making like POV guides or whatever about like the best trail in BC. Watch me walk it.
Like we have to do something. There's just like gigabytes and gigabytes of just like people bumbling down easy trails, which is great. Like you can remember it's fine to document your adventures and things on GoPro, like go for it. But I do feel like maybe uploading it to YouTube is too much, maybe.
They basically go on this really long rant about how they don't think that anyone should upload anything to YouTube, TikTok, or other social media platforms unless they're some kind of elite racer. They're just people that can't hack it or can't race, so they just upload content all the time on YouTube because ultimately, they just wanted to be a racer from the beginning, which I can't find further from the truth. I think it's a very elitist attitude to think that you can only talk about mountain biking if you're at the elite racing level. I'll be honest, I tried racing mountain bikes for a little bit. I didn't like it. And I know a lot of other riders who would probably smoke really good racers that don't like racing. Racing is not the pinnacle of mountain biking, and I would venture to guess that most people really don't pay attention to racing mountain bikes at all. They just like riding their bike. So to have this attitude that only elite racers or people at that skill level are allowed to talk about mountain biking is a real elitist attitude and a really old school way of thinking. I ran into a lot of this back in 08 and 09 when I first started Bike 198. It's like, why are you even talking about mountain bike parts or tutorials? What have you accomplished? Well, one, I really liked riding bikes, and I liked sharing that with a community that I could spread over a really large area that I would never be able to get in contact with before. So it was a really cool aspect of mountain biking that I was able to add and enjoy more of the sport. However, there was a group of people that thought I shouldn't be talking about it at all. But here's the thing. Racing isn't everything. So while racing is a cool aspect of the sport and a lot of people follow it, you also don't want your racers reviewing product or trails. Like Lone Ranger says about his trail videos, he goes out and researches the trails before he goes out there to try to bring the experience to the viewer to see if they want to ride there in the future. It's very similar with product reviews. You don't want sponsored riders where the bulk of their income comes from sponsorships reviewing products. Of course, they're going to have to say something nice about them. That's what they're using to make a living. Also, pro riders can many times ride just about anything. I've seen a lot of pro level riders get on rigid bikes and smoke people on full suspension bikes on really technical trails. There's a reason they're at that level. They can make a bike do anything, and sometimes things that are almost unbelievable. When it comes to product reviews, you're really wanting to see how it will react for you on the trail when you are out riding. You need a more honest, unbiased opinion from someone who's not tied to sponsorships and is also more of a rider that is more like you, so that variance between parts actually means something to you and gives you actual feedback. So this whole idea about you have to be an elite level racer before you can even talk about anything is really not how you want it in reality. So hit the link down in the description, watch that video. He makes a lot of really good points about content creators and the whole community that surrounds it when it comes to mountain biking and the positives that come out of it when there are some people that would like to see it go away. Now, the second video that I watched was from Paul the Punter when he talks about quitting mountain biking, and he made a lot of really good quotes during this video. It's about 33 minutes long, so a little bit of a long watch, but he makes a lot of really good points about the industry itself and why he quit. Again, Paul circles back to this whole idea that if you don't have elite racer level skills, that you shouldn't be talking about mountain biking on YouTube at all. And he actually tells several different stories that he has encountered, including vandalism to his home, because he was making a living making mountain biking videos. Now, I know it's really hard not to listen to all the comments that go in the comment section of videos because more often than not, they're negative rather than positive. But there is a certain section of the community that really just wants to bring other people down that are trying to do something better for themselves and the community at large. I'm not really sure where this comes from. I have been seeing it since '08. There are people that just come out and want to be negative when you're trying to do something positive. I do think there's just a section of the population that does that anyway, but it does bring up a couple different points, and that's where I want to go into the quotes that he actually had in the video. So when it comes to having a section like that in your community, he did say with mountain biking, it's a lot more prevalent and impactful. He also goes on to say that in mountain biking, it seems to have a lot more of that than other sports. And then finally, that mountain biking is a culture that tends to breed this more than other sports. Now, it might be a difficult thing to look at internally because there are a lot of really great friends I've made through the mountain biking community. There are some really good groups out there. We have one local that is fantastic, that has a lot of really great people in it. But when you start looking at mountain biking community as a whole, especially when you start looking at online forums, comments, and other sections, this sport seems to have a group of people like that much larger than others. I've been involved in a lot of different sports over the course of my life, whether it be car racing, surfing, wakeboarding, youth team sports. It does seem like in mountain biking, there's a core group that have this elitist mentality that really want to put other people down. I saw this really bad in the road biking community when that and safety made me hang up a road bike completely for good. But for me, it's really disappointing to see such a large group of the community act like they're inclusive and want everyone to join, but in reality, they really don't. It's only if you do it the exact way they want you to do it, or you get shunned from the community completely. But for me, and what I've seen since starting this back in '08, is there is a really large group of what I would call elitist cyclists that really want to put other people down. And I really don't understand what in the biking community breeds that kind of attitude and makes it such a larger percentage than I've seen in any other sports. And that's including youth baseball. So guys, like the title of this video says, I do believe that the cycling community has a big problem with a really large percentage of these type of people out there in the community, really discouraging people from riding or even beginning to ride themselves at all. And lastly, cycling can be kind of a selfish sport. You spend a lot of time away from family and other friends to enjoy the sport that you like to do. You're many times hours out on the trail. Sometimes you're driving to and from hours at a time. So sometimes riding can take up complete weekends. And then sometimes you might have to ride several times a week to keep up your cardiovascular strength that you can go do these rides on the weekend. So you end up spending a lot of time with these people riding. And a lot of times it can feel like you guys are really close when in essence, if you ever decide to hang up your helmet, you'd be surprised how many of these people you probably won't ever hear from again because you're no longer riding. For me, I like to equate it to, it's a lot like drinkers at a bar. If you decide not to go to that bar anymore, are you going to see them anymore? Are you really just drinking buddies or are you really good friends? And if you ever decide to hang up your helmet, it can sometimes feel like you had a bunch of drinking buddies and not real friends because you're not participating in the sport that they spend so much time at now. And that's just, I think, a reality of something that requires that much time and effort to keep doing over and over again, is that once you hang it up, you're left with all the free time that they're still out riding. So you just don't hear from people as much as you used to. And this percentage of people that you still hang out with without a helmet on is a lot smaller than you think it would be. But like I said, it's not all bad news. I do think it's fixable. One, I do think we need to pay less attention to any kind of social comments or anything else where people are just trying to put down other people, and try to mute that out and give those people less power out on the trail and out on the road. And then for a group that really wants to promote itself as inclusive and wants everyone to get out on bikes more often, we really need to act like it more. Whether you're riding a commuter bike to and from work, or just trying to go out to dinner in a nice little town, or you're an extreme downhiller that wants to go off big drops and canyon gaps. It shouldn't matter. You're out riding a bike, and that should be something that we celebrate, not something we look down on. And when it comes to the mountain biking community online, you need to be supportive of creators that actually are expanding people's awareness of riding and getting more people riding. I don't really understand the point of trying to put down someone for doing something they enjoy and sharing it with other people online. It really makes you look kind of just like an asshole if you're going to keep on putting stuff like that down. So guys, I want to hear what you think down in the comment section below. Is this something that you see in your community, or is it something that you really just see online? I want to hear what you have to say. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to Bike 198 for more videos like this in the future. And until then, on to the next one. Thanks guys, see ya.